Okay, well, this is a little bit of a different video for me to shoot. And y'all haven't heard from me in a while because uh, it's just been crazy, kind of busy summer. My previous video explains more about that, but so right now we're looking at Hurricane Irma. Irma is now just this morning upgraded to a Cat 5 storm. I have a little Andrew deja vu going on here. Looks like, she's going to skirt along the Keys in Miami, and we call that Hurricane Alley. That little spot there between the tip of Florida and Cuba. If a hurricane gets in there, normally, most of the time, they come towards us. It always makes us nervous when we see one right there because their tendency is to turn north, and that usually means Panhandle. So right now, for all intents and purposes, I'm looking at a Cat 5 storm coming our way. And I think most of Florida, most of us are feeling the same way. We're pretty panicky at the moment. Luckily, we live in Florida, and we're not, we know this drill, This isn't really new to us. So am I prepared? This is what this video is about, my personal preparedness. And what do I plan to do? Okay. And, yeah, crafts are involved. Let's just say right now, I'm a little bit kind of panicky because I'm trying to figure out what to bring with me. But, well, first of all, let's cover water. Water is one of the number one things now, as you guys know from watching what's been going on with Harvey, that water is a huge issue. And we've lived through several hurricanes down here, Ivan and Opal, that were pretty bad. And we remember just how bad things got water-wise. So I will show you, I'm going to pan around here. There's this water. Dave went out and got that the other day. He wasn't wasting any time. As soon as I started harping on him, he started going. Then there's the Culligan, which we have, I don't know, gosh, it's so dark in here, I'm sorry. Let's see if you guys can see this or not. Yeah. That's the Culligan right there. Oh, it's Tara. So we have that. And then outside, you might not think that you would need something like this, but this is a small swimming pool that we will be setting up right out here. Okay? And you might think, well, that's going to get full of sticks and branches. Why would you set up a swimming pool? It's not so much for swimming. During Opal, all of the lift stations broke down for the sewers. So there was no water pressure. There was no water. If you used your own bathroom, you had to flush it with water. Okay? So you had to have buckets of water that you could bring in to flush the toilet. And then the other side of that is that you can use that water to bathe. You can use it for a sponge bath, at least for the first few days. There's still lots of chlorine in it. It stays pretty good. So I don't know about putting it in my ears or on my face or anything like that, but you can clean up with that water. So we always do a little kiddie pool or something. And we have the luxury of being able to do that because we live here in Florida. Now, you'll be seeing me panning around the house, and it's a bit of a mess right now because, truthfully, our priority has not been housework lately. All right, so then there's food, okay? Now, everything back here, underneath that blanket and underneath those pillows, is food. I have tons of dry goods stored up. So I probably have enough dry goods to feed my family for 6 months. Most people don't even believe in talking about that kind of thing, but I think it's important for people to know that even hippies prep. Even hippies do. And I still up here, I'll show you some of what I got going on up here. So we have dry goods in here, but that bucket is full of beans, And then there's several, I don't know if you can see I have a bunch of 2-liter bottles full of rice. I got tons of beans and rice. We will get sick of beans and rice. And then in the closet here, yeah, it's my purple kitchen. Isn't it cool? I hope it's still here in a couple of weeks. In here, I have, excuse the angle here, these 2 coolers down here are also full of food. All right, so there's that. Now, one of the things we worry about being older is if we're gonna have enough of our medications and stuff. So, whoops. This is stuff I'm saving for a yard sale here. But this here, for instance, is full of medications. And it's in an old beach cooler with a strap on it, so I can grab it and go in a hurry. Okay? Then there's the bug out bags. Those are here, right by the front door. All right? I got just about everything in there that one would need to survive for 72 hours, including snacks. And I actually buy the Capri Suns right there to go in the bug out bags because they're Mylar. They're in a Mylar bag. It's fluid. You could easily just toss a bunch of them in and go. I mean, I don't have the big bladders that go in the bags. I thought it was a viable solution and it's sugar, so you get a little bit of nutrition. We're not going to probably need to use those in the sense that you would normally use a bug out bag. I'm not going to explain to you what a bug out bag is. You can Google that on YouTube. Bug out bag. But the good thing about a bug out bag is you can throw it in your car too. You don't have to just pack it on your back. It's already packed, ready to go with everything you're going to need. You got your toiletries, you got toilet paper, you got, change of underwear, socks, that kind of thing's all in there, all ready to go. So we'll be grabbing those for sure. But if it comes this way, chances are we're going to have to put all of this stuff somehow into our 3 vehicles. Because we will not be staying here in Florida. You will not be able to come to my house while you think I'm gone and find any of it. Because it's all going to be with me. Yeah. All right. So, back to the craft room. Now, here's where my problem lies. Yeah, I got a lot of money and stuff in here. I think that most of my fellow crafters can relate that you spend, and I'm sorry I keep looking at the wrong thing. I look cross-eyed, I know. But I think a lot of my fellow crafters can agree that you spend a lot of money on this stuff. So what is going to be in my craft bug out bag? Yes, I'm going to be making a craft bug out bag. I'm probably going to be working on it today. Well, I mean, for instance, I know for sure that Tim Holtz distress crayons are worth a lot of money. These are like $10 a pack for that little pack right there. They don't take up a lot of room. So I'm taking all my Tim Holtz distress crayons with me. Will I take a bunch of washi tape and stuff like that? I don't know. Probably not. They're small, but they're not that expensive. But if we look up here in this window, up in my stained glass window, let's see if you can see it up there. Yeah. You see that little metal looking thing that looks like a lacy pattern in it? Kind of. It's next to the rye bottle. That's a batik chop. I spent good money on all of my batik chops. I have a huge collection of them. There's probably about 20 of them. And they're probably worth close to $500 I spent on them. So I'm thinking about, but they're heavy too. So it's a hard decision. Do I take those with me or not? They're antiques. They're mostly made of copper. So they actually have value for melt value too, you know. So I'm thinking about trying to wrap up some of the nicer ones and take them with. And then there's my spinning wheel. I actually have two of them. They're actually two of the exact same wheel. One of them is mine, and one of them I inherited from my dear friend Holly after she passed. She was the one that taught me how to spin on that wheel, and her sister gave it to me when she passed. Those are kind of cool because they break down, but they're still kind of big, you know, but they're like $300 a piece. So, and you can use them. It's a useful thing. I've been wanting to bring one up to my cabin anyways. So, I don't know. Maybe I can strap one to the top of my car. I mean, I have a new 4x4. It's a little Ford Escape, and it's got a nice roof rack on it. And I think I'm gonna be strapping some stuff to the top of the car. We've got 3 trucks, and I'm gonna be looking at filling all of them up in the next, over the next couple of days. Dave's been busying himself with making sure all the vehicles are in good repair and can make the trip to East Tennessee. So if the storm does not track towards East Tennessee, that's probably where we're going to end up. East Tennessee, I'm guessing. And the rest of this stuff, we're just going to have to leave it to the wind. I'm going to do everything I can to pack things in Rubbermaids and stuff before the storm comes. We have weathered high Cat 2, Cat 3 level storms here before with no storm surge. Opal landed directly in Fort Walton Beach with a 24-foot storm surge. And we didn't get not a bit of storm surge right here in this little house. It's pretty high and dry, this lot is. So, I mean, I'm lucky that way. If we get a lot of rain, though, if the ground gets really saturated like Houston, yeah, there's possibility that. But you see, we're so close to the Gulf that it just it does drain back down out into the Gulf. So we don't have like a dish bowl situation like Houston does. So a lot of people really freak out and think, oh my God, because of Harvey, we could get flooded too. We've had some pretty intense flooding rains over the years. And the low-lying areas in town do get flooded, but it drains out pretty quick. So, if Irma comes and goes, I don't have to worry too much about flooding. What I have to worry about is, like the lady says on TV that you've been watching on Weather Channel or whatever, that the roof could blow off and then things could get waterlogged from that. So it's a pretty good sturdy roof, and this is a good sturdy little block house. It's been through a lot already and has been a little champ of a house. So all your prayers would be appreciated. If you're concerned, pray for us. And if Irma heads somewhere else, then we'll be praying for you. You can bet. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I'll see if I can get a picture before or a little bit of video after this clip here and show you what I did end up deciding to take with and how I packed it up. But for one thing, when you bug out, especially if we bug out at the cabin, there's no television, there's no cable, there's even not really any cell service down there, so you have to find a way to entertain yourself. So I am thinking about more along the line of fiber arts than paper. I think paper is pretty replaceable, and luckily with a lot of what we do with our scrapbooking and stuff is just using. It didn't take me long to amass all of this, and if I could let it go, you know what I mean? I could let it go for a while and, start again someday. But with the fiber arts, you know, some of that stuff is a little more valuable. I have my drum carder, I have my spinning wheels, I have my table loom, and oh yeah, and then we have instruments. We have so many musical instruments. My husband's thinking about locking them all up, but I mean, this is my mother's hammered dulcimer right here. Before she moved to England, she gave me this hammered dulcimer. It's huge. It's like a giant trapezoid. And I was hoping I could learn to play it someday, and had planned to put it up in the cabin when we finish the cabin. The cabin is not finished, y'all. We're going to go up there. It's a shell, okay? It's a place to be, and it has power, and the hippie trailer's there, and I have a refrigerator and a microwave and a coffee maker, and it's all mine, and I don't have to share it with anybody else. So yeah, it'd be great if we could go to the cabin, but you know, the cabin's not done. So that's why I'm still hanging on to so much stuff. And some of this stuff was supposed to go up there. Oh my goodness. All right. One look at the laundry room. Why not? You guys have seen the rest of the mess. This is my laundry room / my war room. And even in here, there are some things that I would have to really think about leaving, whether I want to leave it behind or not. See all those whites? Those are all brand new white t-shirts in there for tie-dyeing for my business. And then here, this is all inventory. These two, this box full and this basket full and this basket full. That's all completed stuff. That's all inventory. So I've actually started putting stuff on Etsy this week, and I do plan to take a small box with me of my Etsy store. So be looking for the Etsy store to open back up. I don't know. It seems crazy. Like, why would you do that right now when the storm's coming? But I look at it as a way to maybe have a potential source of income, even if the rest of my world's falling apart. So, you know, I'm Miss Planny Plannington. And I'm even thinking ahead to what would happen if this place did get destroyed and I needed a source of income. So luckily, as a crafter and having an Etsy store, you know, you can open that stuff up and you can operate it from pretty much anywhere. So if that happens, I do hope that that I can get it back going and that I can make a little bit of money anyways, you know, gas money. All right, guys, peace out. I'm not going to go on and on for too long about this, but I'll try to add that clip on the end here of what the bug out box looks like after I've packed it. Bye. Okay, I'm back. So it's been a couple days since we were threatened with the storm ourselves. Here up in the Panhandle, we did not suffer any damage. There was no wind. Well, there was a little wind and a little rain, but nothing worse than the average storm. So we were really, really blessed, and we actually played host to quite a few evacuees here in the Panhandle. It was so bad yesterday with the gridlock, with everybody trying to go home, that even up here, I-10 was completely backed up. Like, they were asking locals to stay off the roads. So the gridlock was just insane both ways. It's one of the important reasons why when you're thinking about evacuating, about your timeline, you need to get out really before things get bad, before the roads get clogged, before they start running out of gas. And it's important to get out ahead of the game. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, the local people here, like I say, our local gas stations were already running out of gas almost a week before landfall. So we're not playing anymore. You know, it's time to really get these preps together and get your plan in action and gear. So what does an artist do when they're looking at trying to evacuate? Well, I had to really think a lot about this over the last week. I would not have been prepared. As you can see in the beginning part of this video, I was still really quite panicked, thinking about what to bring with me and what I was going to do. Just your mind races. Lots of stuff goes through your mind, and if you haven't made a solid plan, it's easy to forget things. So And I am a planner, you know, and I was already, this storm taught me that there are holes in my plan. Thank you, IRma. I've learned that I'm not quite as ready as I thought I was going to be. So I had to think in terms about like my studio too here. What would be important for me to want to try to take with me last minute, and what would not? What could I leave behind? So obviously I thought about the most expensive things would have to come with me. And there might even be some expensive things that I would have to leave behind. Okay. But I also would have to think about what would survive the storm. So, you know, unless my house was just completely wiped off the map, there's a good chance I would come back and that I would find a waterlogged house. If the roof blew off, or, you know, if the windows blew in, if there was any kind of water damage inside the house, then I would think that I would lose all of my paper. Paper, though, is like I could replace that. And I know that as an artist, I could make a plea to other artists, and that you guys are so big-hearted and tender-hearted that you would send me things from your stash if I asked you to, as I would for you, okay? It's just simple as that. You know, if somebody faced a completely devastating loss of their entire studio, of course I would open up and try to send what I could. So I have to have faith, and for one thing, in my artistic community to help me resupply. So secondly, I don't know that I would take a lot of my art pieces with me because space is at a premium. I don't have a big trailer right now. I have 2 trucks and an SUV. And the trucks both have camper shells, but you got to remember we're going to be bugging out with all of our other supplies and pets and water and food and things like that. So space would be at a premium. And so I'm not going to be able to take my big pieces of art or my big pieces of equipment. So for right now, that would mean that my spinning wheel, for instance, would be out. Unless I could look at my load at the last minute and decide I'm going to strap it to the top of the car with bungees. If I thought I could do it and make it work, I would. So I didn't get that far in this process to know if that would happen or not. But I did go ahead and prepare some bags. And I'm going to go through them really quickly with you guys and show you what made the cut. You know, what made the cut and what didn't. All right. So let's go through the first bag here. The first bag, and I did go to the flea market or to the thrift store, and I got some of these little zippered pouches and things that I could easily put some supplies and things in now for bugging out. And these bags are going to stay packed like this until hurricane season's over, because I want to be able to grab things and go at a moment's notice now without thinking. And I'll just work out of the bags if I need to for my art for the next few months. So the first bag has all these expensive punches in it. As you know, these can be like $20. So I'm not leaving the punches behind. They would get destroyed. I think the mechanisms, the inner workings, if they got super wet, would maybe rust up or something. So I'm not trusting those to being water damaged. So those would go. All right. Secondly, now these aren't that expensive, but I have all of these like embroidery threads and things, and I have actually got more where this came from, but this is just to start out with. And this is stuff that I could either sell if I needed to make a little money at a flea market, or I could use to actually do some handicrafts, easily picking up you know, some things from local thrift stores to embroider, to embellish, to maybe start up a small business wherever I ended up to make a little bit of money, okay? Because, you know, this is a skill that I have, and without my tools, it's not something I could use to help my family out. So that came with me, and they're small, they travel well, and embroidery is something you can do with or without power. So in that sense, I also put in a decent embroidery stitch work book in there just for reference, in case I wanted to say, you know, buy a cute pair of jeans and embroider them, and then I could put them like up in my Etsy store or something to make money. Then I'm in terms of paints, I'm not taking my big basic acrylics or any of my tube acrylics with me. They're in a tube. They'd survive if they got wet, you know? And they're not that expensive. I could probably, you know, yeah, I got some money into them, but most of them are half used. So all of the paints and stuff are staying behind, but I am taking the expensive watercolors with me. the ones I got from Dick Blick, okay? Once again, this is something I can do on the road. It's easy, it's small, it's portable, and you can make beautiful art with it. Even if I just made some like greeting cards or something to sell at a local craft store or a craft, venue, or a flea market or something. It's something that I felt like I needed to take with me. So that's bag number 1. Now, bag number 2, that's this bag here. And actually, I'll show you the size of bag number 1. This was a cooler satchel. And I like the idea of having them in bags instead of boxes because I could just grab the handles and go, and they can just be shoved into whatever little nook or cranny I have left in the car. All right, so obviously all this stuff gets packed after the essentials, after your food, your clothes, your water, your first aid. Okay, this is stuff that I could add on at the last minute. Like if I had 24 hours to get ready to go. And that's happened to us here before. Like we've had storms that have developed overnight down in the Yucatan, and they say, well, we're expecting it to make landfall within 24 to 30 hours in Northwest Florida. You like wake up one day and there's a storm you didn't even know was coming. That happens here. So at least with hurricanes, it's not like tornadoes or something, or earthquakes. We see them coming. We have the luxury of time and getting ready. So if we're not really ready, then we don't have a lot of excuses. We really should be getting ready. So here's another bag. This one here contains my Tim Holtz stamp pads. Tim Holtz is not cheap. They're not expensive, but they're not cheap either. And anything Tim Holtz is going with me. I'm sorry, it's taking me too long to develop my collection there. So I have that. And then I have a small bag here. These are all the like fancy pens, okay? These are all the, These are all the expensive pens I have. I don't have a lot in the way of really expensive marking pens, but when you pay $10 for a marking pen, that sucker's going with you. in my Prismacolor, or I think, here's another Prismacolor. These guys were, I just got these. These are my Copics. If you got a whole set of Copic markers or Copic markers, but I don't know how to say it, but if you had a whole set of these suckers, you can darn sure bet you're going to want to take those with you. These are expensive. So, expensive things like that. All right, the pens. And I also have another, this is my set of my mini Tim Holtz and other brands of stamps. So that gives me a whole palette of stamps to play with later on. And then, of course, I decided on all of my distress crayons are going with me. Once again, those are kind of expensive. I have 2 sets of pencils here. And there is a sharpener. Now this is my already put together travel bag of drawing supplies. So this is, once again, I have my beautiful Derwent watercolor pencils are in there, as well as some microns and some Sharpies and erasers, and somewhere in there is a sharpener. So this is my little actual, made it a long time ago, travel drawing kit. Because when I go on the road, I do like to sketch. That's one of the things I do to kind of pass the time if I'm on an airplane or something like that. So in that sense, I have a couple things that I fit in here folder wise. You have to have paper to sketch, so I put in 2 pads of, one of watercolor and another decent one of thick sketch paper that I could either sketch or paint on. And this one here actually is some of my completed watercolors. I probably wouldn't take a whole lot of my art, but these are so small and flat. These are originals. They're just this little cartoon. But once again, it's something that I could easily just throw into a plastic sleeve and sell at a little craft show or something if I needed to make a little bit of money. So anyhow, I've got a whole bunch of those. And when you're desperate, you'll sell things. If you need to eat, and somebody wants to give you $5 for that watercolor, you'll take it. So that's that. You're an artist, you're creative, you can always make more, right? Oops, and looks like I lost a few guys in here. And so the third thing from that stack of stuff is my folder of stencils. These are, now I went through the stencil collection. I only took the most expensive, the thinnest, most expensive stencils. You know darn well that stencils, these guys are expensive. We spend a lot of money on this stuff. And look how flat they are. They just, you know, they travel really well. There you go. So that's that, the stencils. Those are coming with me. Okay, so as you can see, I've got 2 bags here already, 2 small bags, and I've pretty much got a mobile art studio. I mean, a lot of this stuff I could end up, if I ended up having to take up residence somewhere else, like some of the folks did with Katrina, had to settle in Houston. You know, so I have the start of getting my life back together, and as a working artist, of getting a start on some things that I can do. All right, so the third bag here, these are all stamps. And darn it, you know stamps are expensive too. The wood block stamps, they're just expensive, you know. I have a whole box of those, and the bottom of the bag here is just full of my wood block stamps, and then I have, excuse me, my 2 stamp notebooks with all of my clear stamps. Now when you pay up to $10, $14 for, you know, a clear stamp collection, that's expensive. You know, there's, in this one notebook alone, there's over $100 worth of clear stamps. So, yes, they're going with me. That's that. Now, in terms of, you know, I am tie-dye Chris. In terms of my tie-dye, what would I do about that? Well, tie-dye all on its own takes up just a whole lot of room. That would be heartbreaking for me to have to leave behind all of my completed merchandise and all of my blanks, things that I haven't dyed yet. And even just the cost of the dye alone, these let me just take you guys out of here for just a second. These 3, 2, I guess, boxes, containers up there are of dye powder. That's several $100s worth of dye powder. So it would be hard to restart Wild Dyes, I think, as a business. And I think what I'd have to do would be to seriously think about paring it down to just maybe a tub of what's in my Etsy store. I'm working on restarting the Etsy store. And since I'm probably going to go ahead and restart the Etsy store before I post this video, I'm just going to put the link in the description below. If you guys want to support me on Etsy, I would love that. That'd be great. I make awesome clothing. I make awesome tie-dyes. And this is, you know, stuff that a lot of artists like to wear. It's artistic clothing for sure. So I'm just going to probably focus on bringing with me the things that are already completed and in my Etsy store. Everything else I would have to count as a loss. So I really need to look at my accounting right now. If I ever had to make a claim with FEMA or with the Small Business Development Council or whoever might be providing storm relief, I would need to kind of be able to do an inventory and have a, you know, good accounting of what my current inventory is. So I know I need to get that together anyway for taxes this year, but it's just kind of, it's one more thing to do, you know. So I would probably take a huge loss on the tie-dyes. So my heart really goes out right now to artists in general who are looking at and trying to have to rebuild their lives. And I have started a GoFundMe to help South Florida artists. I have not identified any artists yet who are in dire straits, but I will, and I know that they're coming. I just know that there's people out there just like me who've lost their studios and have lost their livelihoods. And my heart goes out to you. It breaks my heart to think about what's happened to our neighbors in South Florida. I have a lot of anxiety and guilt over this whole thing with this storm. I guess you call it like survivor's guilt, because here I am enjoying my air conditioning and my power and my clean water, and our neighbors to the south are just not as lucky. So I have started a GoFundMe. I will also put that in the description. You guys will just have to trust me that is in my heart to give and to try to help people out. I've done it before. I've done fundraisers before. Or I raised money once with a friend. We put together a last minute art auction. We raised $7,000 to help an older artist friend save her home and her studio from foreclosure. And I mean, I'm so proud of that. It feels so good to be able to make a difference like that in somebody's life. And I really hope to be able to raise a lot of money with this GoFundMe. I know that everybody right now is asking for money, but I'm particularly asking my fellow artists in my art community to reach out and to help the other artists in need. We're going to take care of our own here. And if you find or hear of any South Florida artists who have just been devastated, let me know. I don't know how many people I'm going to end up needing help, but I will do the best I can. If there's just too many for us to help, we'll pick the ones that we think have the greatest need, okay? So, and I know that there's going to be a lot of need. There just is going to be a lot of need. So I'm anticipating that, and I'm getting out ahead of the game with this GoFundMe. This is a long video. I appreciate you guys sticking with it, staying with me through all of this. Let me know what you think in the comments. What would you take with you? What is important to you besides your regular, must-have necessities, lives, pets, that type of thing? If you had a few more minutes to decide, what would you take out of your studio? What thing could you just not live without as an artist? I'd like to know what you think. Okay? So, peace to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everybody who's helping in whatever way for helping us hurricane victims in Florida recover. And in Texas as well for Harvey. I just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for helping, whether you've donated to the Red Cross or a telethon or even to my GoFundMe or whatever way you're doing to help Florida recover. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and know that it just means so much to us. And I pray that Florida is able to recover and that we'll come back stronger than ever. Okay? Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.